everyone. So, sorry it's been forever. It's been a few weeks since we released our last episode, which was the 4th episode. But right now, we're on the 5th episode. And just to recap, we were talking about Baba being in school. So, he was in the English school. And we're talking about trying to readjust to a normal life, if possible, in Ayia Napa, where they fled. And basically, his family moved to several different homes, and he was going back and forth from school back home, or what they were trying to make home in Ayia Napa. So that's where we are right now. Hi, Baba.
Hi, Olympia.
Hi. So tell us, towards the end of your schooling, what happened in that English school, or what was going on during that time.
Yeah. Well, this is, I guess, a year after the invasion, and I go into my second year, my last year. Mm-hmm. This is the year when we were scheduled to take the A-level exams for the University of London,
okay,
which would be our entrance exams into the universities of England. Mm-hmm. And it was a better year for me because I was through my depression. It was kind of a lot better than the first year after the invasion. And I studied more. I was learning a lot. I was very excited actually to finish my studies.
Yeah.
And I took my GCE exams at the end of that year, and it was good. It was very good. I did pretty well, not as well as I wanted, not as well as I did in the O-level exams, the ordinary level exams, but it was quite good. So considering all the things that we've gone through. Mm-hmm. And then the application process began for the universities of England.
Yeah. And
I was accepted by 3 different universities. I think one was in Birmingham, and 2 in London, and I was accepted primarily for production engineering. So it was really good. I was ready to go to England to study. Yeah. That was my goal. And after that, I was kind of looking at the ways to pay for the universities because they were very expensive.
Right.
And we had no money because my parents lost everything.
Right.
They had no income at the time, or whatever income it was enough to survive on.
Yeah.
Just barely for food and nothing much more. So yeah, that was a concern I had. Mm-hmm. And then in Cyprus, of course, at that time and until today, there is a compulsory 2-year, it was 2 years, it was 26 months at that time, service in the military. So I had to give 26 months to serve my country before I left. And in fact, to this day, you are not allowed to leave the country and go study abroad or do anything else until you serve whatever that time is that the military requires of you.
Right.
So I finished my schooling, which was the last 2 years, was basically what it would amount to college in England. So the advanced level exams were entrance exams to the universities of England. Mm-hmm. And so I was very happy. I was very satisfied. I was kind of, I felt a level of achievement.
Yeah.
And I got ready to go into the military. And that July, I was basically drafted. And
how old were you at that point?
I was 19.
And you were done with school. So at this point, after school, they drafted you into the military.
Drafted me in the military. The first 40 days of basic training, boot camp, it was tough. It was very tough. But after that, they put us into specific training for... I was on anti-aircraft machine gun and things like that. And then after that, I became I was made a sergeant.
Okay.
And then I was sent to my unit, and my unit was a very tough unit. I'll talk about it a little more because that was really a difficult unit, and but because it had training throughout the next 2 years, the next year and a half. Mm-hmm. So I spent 6 months in the unit, which we called the unit of death, because it was designed. We were trained continually every day, and it was designed that they would put us if there was war, if there was the invasion continued, they would throw us into the area of the line where the line might be breaking or the line was weak, and we were being trained so that we can move quickly with military vehicles, armored personnel vehicles, and move into the areas where they needed us on the front line.
Okay.
And so the training was very tough. I mean, we would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and this is after boot camp, okay? Boot camp was bad enough. And to continue to do this for the next 6 months, I was doing this. Wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. The breakfast was usually tea and a slice of bread, toasted usually,
Oh my God.
with a little marmalade.
That was it.
That was it. And then we would go training. We would go exercising in the morning, and then we would put on our uniforms, and we would load ourselves with all the military equipment that we had, and then we'll appear.
That's crazy.
We'll gather. It was every day.
Oh my
We would
gosh.
gather as a unit, the entire unit, about 200 of us will gather, and the commander will appear in front of the commander and the other officers, and they would check us. It was inspection time every day. And then every Saturday there would be inspection by the commander in our rooms where we lived. And we had common rooms where 8 of us or 10 of us or 14 of us would be sleeping in. And then there would be inspection of the weapons that we were in charge of. And we had some good weapons, good stuff. I mean, some of it from the Korean War, actually. The rifles were from the Second World War. But we had some really good stuff that were much later. And we, as an officer, I was assigned an AK-47 and a pistol,
Oh my gosh.
which I really didn't have access to unless it was necessary. And one of the times that I used both the pistol and we would train on them, but then we didn't have them with us in the exercises.
Right.
The only time I had them continually with me was when they sent us for 2 weeks to the front line to replace another unit that came back to retrain. And so I was on the front line. I would do midnight and early morning inspections of the guards, and I would walk from place to place to find the guards.
Yeah.
And we would use passwords to identify ourselves. And then I had my AK-47 with me and my pistol.
Wow.
And the Turks were not very far away, so we were always careful, and we were always scared what we might encounter. I mean, if the Turks wanted to intercept us, they could.
So
We didn't try to intercept them, but you're always on guard, and you're always kind of careful.
Of course, because at this point, just to understand again where we are, we're 2 years after the invasion.
2 years after the invasion.
So at this point, the Turks have not continued firing. They're not actually in combat with Cypriots at this point, or
no,
are they?
all combat finished 2 years ago.
Okay, so it literally was just that small period
So
of
what
time, and that was it. And they have that area occupied, the northern
Yes.
part of Cyprus.
They have the northern part of Cyprus occupied, and then they created this neutral zone, as they called it, between the troops, the Cypriot troops and the Turkish troops. But they had they had tanks, which we didn't have. They had heavy duty, modern
they had serious weapons,
equipment, which they're getting because they're members of NATO and friends of the United States, and they had all kinds of things. Cyprus actually was banned because it was not supposed to have an army. It was banned from purchasing things from people. So whatever we had was either given to us through Greece, or we purchased it illegally through the European countries that were selling weapons, or we captured them when we captured the Turkish villages in the first round of the war, of the skirmishes. So we had a lot of equipment that we took from the Turks, but we didn't have modern tanks. We didn't have modern
they were
artillery.
just so much stronger in what they had. They just had so many more things.
And we had about 7,000 soldiers, and they had about 40,000 Turkish troops, well trained and fully equipped. So, I mean, if they wanted to take over, they could do it any
They
time.
could do it at any moment. Mm-hmm.
And that was part of the worry and part of the concern, because we were kids, and they were professional soldiers on the other side, a lot of them, and they had probably better training. I don't know. I mean, I have no idea, but they definitely had more weapons, more soldiers, and more modern weapons than we did, because we didn't have much.
Well, you weren't even allowed to.
Yeah, I mean, by international law, we were blocked from officially purchasing weapons from main countries like the U.S. or England or France.
Do you know why?
It was part of the agreement that was made in 1960 when Cyprus became an independent country, and they were supposed to be protected by the three nations, England, Turkey, and Greece. So when Turkey invades, the Republic of Cyprus has no rights to have weapons, because...
That's interesting.
Yeah,
it's a little confusing, because it's really political,
It's very political, and to this day, they have not yet received that approval officially. Whatever they have, they get it through Greece.
Wow.
And whatever they have, they purchase it illegally, in a way, from other countries that will sell illegally to them.
Yeah.
Illegally from the international weapons standpoint, whatever it is.
It's very political.
It's very political.
And it's confusing. It's confusing.
Yeah, and it's difficult for small nations like Cyprus to find their rights, because if the big countries don't support them, they can have no rights.
Yeah, that's
and so, I mean, we're invaded and nobody supported us. We're invaded and nobody came to our rescue.
Right.
We're invaded and nobody gave us weapons. I mean, come on. I mean, is this human rights? Is this justice? Is this democracy? Is this? I mean, we're a democratic country, and the Turks invaded us. So where are the big countries that claim that they're democratic and they stand for freedom and democracy?
Right.
Okay, the Turks destroyed the democratic country.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yep.
So there's a lot of hypocrisy in the world, and
a
lot of hypocrisy in politics. And when you hear these politicians talking about rights and human rights and whatever, all of our human rights were violated. All of our, rights as a country were violated.
Right.
And nobody came to our rescue. To this day, 45 years later.
45 years later. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're still basically in the same position.
Yeah, where are these guys who are talking about democracy and freedom? And I mean, come on, give me a break. I mean, I can't hear any more hypocrisy when it comes to that. I'm fed up with them.
I agree.
So when I hear them talk about it, I say, leave me alone.
Yeah.
You haven't done it for me. I don't believe that you're going to do it for the people.
Yeah.
You're doing it for your own interests.
Yeah.
Wherever your interests are served by that, then you claim that you're gonna. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you claim that you're gonna support the human rights and the human freedoms and the democracy, but you're not. You didn't do it for us. Okay. So.
But even then, the Cypriot government still required that males, before they would go to university, still go to the military for 2 years. I think that's really interesting anyway.
Yes,
regardless.
Of course. I mean, they have to, because when the small country is defenseless, they need to
have something.
So they created the line of defense, which, I mean, the Turks could violate anytime they wanted.
That's true.
But at least we were feeling a little safer knowing that there are, our kids, we as kids, we are young people, we're standing there, and if the Turks wanted to do something, we will stand up to them at least. Maybe they will kill us, but we will stand up to them and say, you
felt some type of control, but not really, but some type of, you're making something, difference in some way. Yeah.
We knew how weak we were and how vulnerable we were, but we were willing to die to defend our country if we had to.
Yeah.
So.
And who established the line, the green line, which is called? It's called we call it the green line.
Basically
the
Turks. The Turks, and wherever we resisted, they stopped, and wherever we didn't resist, they took more. And then once the skirmishes stopped, then whatever the status quo, whatever the positions were, they became the status quo.
So
since then, I mean, that's exactly
to explain to people what that is. It's the line that basically that Turks claim they have all this land up to this line in the country. So they established this invisible line, basically. I mean, I guess they have actual people there now. Yeah. But I mean, at the time, the idea of a line is, it's not like it's penciled into the ground. But
in places like Lefkosia, the capital, the distance between the Turkish military on that side, on the north side, and the Greek Cypriots on the southern side, is like 100 yards away, 60
You can see
yards
each
away.
other.
You can see each other.
You can
Yeah,
see
you can
each
see
other.
the guards.
Mm-hmm.
In other places, it can be a mile, it can be half a mile, it can be a quarter
But
of
they're
a mile,
right up
depending
against.
on
Yeah, they're right up against us.
But they created this green line, as we call it, and then in between those, the positions of the Turks and the positions of our troops is what we call the neutral zone, that nobody's allowed to go in except the United Nations soldiers, which still exist in Cyprus. There is a United Nations contingency that basically reports and kind of maintains the neutral zone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're the only ones who go into the neutral zone.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we had many cases where our soldiers might walk into the neutral zone and they were killed by the Turks
Oh my
on the
God.
other side. Oh, yeah, several cases.
Are you serious?
While
you were in the military?
Yes. Not those 2 years,
Ah.
but over the last 45 years, there were many cases.
How would they get into the neutral zone?
All you did need to do is step down from your position and walk into the neutral zone. There was no nothing to stop you.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So what the kids in Lefkosia, they did this in Lefkosia. I remember there are at least 2 cases in Lefkosia where they began a conversation with a Turkish soldier.
Oh no. Okay.
Okay. And they talk to each other, they become friends over a period of months.
Oh wow.
And then the Turkish soldier says, "Hey, come over, let's have a cup of coffee together."
Oh,
Okay.
no, this is not.
So the
good.
Greek boy puts his gun down and walks over, and while he's approaching the position of the Turks, the officer comes in. The Turkish officer comes in, sees him walking toward the other guard, the Turkish guard, pulls his gun out, and he shoots him dead.
So they just set them up?
Well, I'm not sure that
It was
a setup.
intentional,
I don't think it was intentional. But the Turkish boy should have
Let
conferred
everyone
with his
know.
commander before he invited the Greek boy to come over, because
Aw.
the commander comes in, sees a Greek soldier walking up to his guy.
Right, of course he's
Yeah, he
going to
shot
shoot.
him.
Oh my
So
God, that's
I don't think it was a
horrible.
setup, but it was really a tragic thing, because
Yeah.
you don't do things like that. Anyway, it was dumb on the Greek side to do such a thing, but
Well, he probably assumed if that guy was saying, "Hey, it's okay," that he'd be okay. You know, who
he
knows?
did assume
Who
that.
knows?
Yes, he
Yeah.
did assume that.
It
That's
sounds
the whole
like he
point.
assumed it.
Yeah. He assumed that.
That's
but,
really sad.
but when you're at war, you don't assume things like that, and so he made a
Yeah.
mistake.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the other guy, instead of stopping him, saying, "What on earth are you doing? Stop! Put your hands down, and fall on the ground or whatever." He shot him. Yeah. Because
Wow.
life is not valued when you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. For sure.
So we lost several soldiers like that. Dumb kids, they thought that the other side was as kind as they were, and
Oh
And
God,
we
that's
lost
so
them.
sad.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
makes
yeah.
me sad because they were nice. Or they in their hearts thought, oh, maybe this is okay, and it's like, no, it wasn't.
Well, the
okay.
Turkish Cypriot kids might have been kind and they cared, but those over them who are mostly Turkish officers from Turkey, they have no mercy.
forget it.
So.
Yeah, forget it.
Anyway,
Okay.
so
You had your unit.
Hmm?
You had your unit. that
yeah, I
you were
had
a
my
part
unit.
of.
I was at my unit, and then the interesting thing is that 6 months after I got to my unit, I was called back to the training camp, the boot camp,
Okay.
to train the next batch of soldiers that were coming in. So a year after I entered into the military and my basic training at the boot camp, I was brought back as a sergeant major to be at the head of an entire locos, they call it in Greek. I'm not sure what the English equivalents are, but there were 200 young men that were under my care
Oh my gosh.
for their training, and I was the sergeant major of the entire. I say sergeant major because I don't know exactly what the equivalent would be in the American military, so I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
I was not the sergeant major for boot camp in the sense of training the particular kids, because I didn't take part so much in the training. I was more responsible for the administration of the trainers, and I was under an officer, a high-ranking officer that was overlooking the whole thing, and then the whole camp was under a general. We had or a colonel. We had a full colonel that was in charge of the entire camp. But I had 200 kids in my care,
Wow.
and then and I worked on this for about 4 months.
Okay.
We finished their training, the first basic training of the 40 days, and then we did the specialized training in the different weapons and stuff, and then we sent them to their units. So after 4 months, I went back to my unit as well.
Okay.
So by Christmas, I was back in my unit, and then I had another 6, 8, 9 months until, 9 months, 9 full months, because I was supposed to get out by September sometime. So when I returned back to the unit, I'm thinking about school.
University,
because I would be free by September. Most universities in those days would start by September. So I would be leaving for a university somewhere. And by
but
that time...
most likely not in Cyprus, though.
Cyprus did not have any universities at the time.
I see.
No university whatsoever.
Okay. That's important to know.
Most Cypriots would go to Greece, but I was in an English school, so I really could not, and I never even tried to go to Greece. I had to take the Greek exams, but I was not interested in the Greek system also because they would force me to go into whatever discipline they wanted based on the exams, which I was not willing to take.
They would choose a track for you.
Yes, and I did not want to do that. So I was looking for an English-speaking university.
Right.
So England was my plan. I had 3 positions in 3 different universities in England. So
and Cyprus is very close to England. If you're looking at a map,
it's 4 hours actually. It's not.
Yeah. Well, it's close than from America going to Germany. You know what I mean? Because when we think out of the country, if you're here in America, you're not thinking. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's much closer in distance than what you would think of here.
England was natural for Cypriots because a lot of Cypriots spoke English, and of course my school was an English school, so the training was preparation for English universities.
Exactly.
So it was not preparation for American universities, it was preparation for English universities. That was the idea.
That was the idea,
And as I said, the last 2 years of my school were what would amount to the college years in England, which are separate from university. See, they have 2 years of college and they have 3 years of university.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's how they split it up.
Okay.
Now in America, you say college and university, and you mean the same thing, but it's 4 years.
Okay.
Okay, so
that's interesting.
So it was a different setup. It was
the system is different. How they defined everything.
Yeah. I don't know how it is today, but I assume it's the same for the British universities.
Possibly.
So I was ready to go to England, but there was no money. I had my uncle from England who was alive at the time, Uncle Andreas. He was in Birmingham, so I did have a position in Birmingham. I talked to him. It didn't seem like it was possible for me to work and go to school and find support. I wasn't sure, so I just wrote that off, and I was looking into other directions. So an opportunity came, and I applied.
Are you still in the military right now?
I'm still in the military.
Okay.
I'm about in April maybe, or maybe in the winter time, maybe in February. And an opportunity is given to me to apply for the American University of Beirut through the Fulbright Scholarship.
Okay.
And I didn't apply to the university. I applied to the Fulbright Scholarship so they can cover me because I didn't have any money to pay for the university. So and the American University of Beirut was quite, it had a good reputation. And some students that went to the English school before me, that they graduated before me, they were already in the American University of Beirut, studying engineering and other things. So I inquired into it, and they said this is a good place to be.
Okay.
So I actually applied for the scholarship, and I got it.
Oh wow!
I got it for civil engineering. So So I said, okay, I'm all set. I have a position, so I know I'm going to Beirut. Beirut is only 80 miles away from Cyprus, so it's really a short flight by plane.
Very short flight by plane.
And then it's as if for poor people of Beirut, as if, forgive the expression, all hell fell apart for them.
Or broke loose.
It was the beginning of the big invasion of Israel and to clean out Hezbollah from Beirut. Hezbollah had already abducted the the president of the University of Beirut.
Oh my God.
And nobody knew where he was. And then the Israelis invaded, and Beirut was falling apart. It was burning through the summer, through that summer. So in the meantime, I knew that there was war going on, and I was concerned.
Yeah.
So one of my friends that was living, he was getting out of the military a bit early because his family were able to emigrate to the United States. And they were coming to New York.
Did they also experience the invasion? Like they were from your
They
town?
were,
Okay.
They're not from my town. They were from Carpaciet, from
But
Tricomo.
they experienced it too,
From
yeah.
Tricomo, and they experienced the war, and they were leaving because they had no place to
What were they
be
going to
there.
do? Mm-hmm.
So they had some relatives in the United States. They were able to get an invitation. So they didn't come as refugees because the interesting thing is that we were not recognized internationally as refugees. The United States did not recognize us as refugees. Australia did. Canada did.
Really?
But the United States and England did not
Australia
recognize
and
us.
Canada
Yes,
did.
yes, yes.
I always liked them.
But the United States did not recognize
Yeah.
us as refugees, so
course.
we really had no rights as refugees in the United States, and we couldn't emigrate just because we were refugees, or we couldn't apply for that.
Yeah.
Which there is the United States brings in a lot of war refugees every year from around the world, but they did recognize us. That's how kind they were to us in that time.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we when my friend was getting ready and he was being released from the army early, we had a conversation, and I said, well, Beirut is in bad trouble. It was not fully invaded and it was not fully destroyed yet, but I said something is not going right in Beirut. I don't know that I will be able to go to the American University
In Beirut, yeah.
in Beirut. So would you please check in New York when you get there, because they were coming to New York. Check to see if there is a school that will offer engineering, what the expense is, and if there is a way that I can work and cover my expenses and still make it.
That's possible.
If
Yeah.
that's possible, yeah.
Yeah.
If it's something that other people are doing, and if it's possible for someone like me to do, because I have no support, because my parents don't have anything, and I have no scholarships for that.
Yeah.
So there's no way for me to bring money with me, therefore, or receive money from here. So
Yeah.
would it be possible? So he left, and within a few weeks, I received a letter. He says, yes, there is.
And you were still in the military. And you got
I'm
this
still
letter
in the
while you were
military.
there.
This is probably around June, maybe.
Okay.
So
So you
I
had a
get
few months.
Yeah. So I get a letter. This is June of 1978. Okay.
Yep.
Just to put
Your
it.
last year.
Yeah, my last year.
1978. Mhm.
Yeah. And so I received a letter from my friend, and he says, yes, there is a school called City College. It's a government. It's a city school, City College, and it has an engineering department. The tuition is, I think it was like $1,500 a semester at the time for foreign students.
Wow, how nice.
Which was not as forbidding as the English universities, which were like £5,000 a year or something.
That's
a
a
semester.
lot of money.
It was 8 to 10,000 pounds a year.
Oh my
For the British
goodness.
universities.
That's a lot of
It was
money.
a lot of money at the time.
That's a lot of money.
Because the British would not give us, as Cypriots, they would not give us a discount like they gave to their own people, for example.
Yeah.
Anyway, so because the British universities are subsidized by the government too, so is City College. But with City College, if you're a foreign student, it was $1,500 a semester, I believe, or maybe I don't remember right now. I think it was $1,500 a semester.
Okay.
$1,500, and if you were an American citizen, it was $750 a semester
Wow.
at the time. I don't know what it is
die
today.
for $750 a
Well,
semester.
we're talking about 45 years ago.
I
so
know. But that's wild.
The value
That's
of
crazy.
money was
yeah.
much bigger, in that sense. Okay, so, and he responded. He says, "This is what it is. This is the address of the school to apply, and there is a possibility for you to work in a diner, in a restaurant. There are a lot of Greek diners and Greek restaurants,
Right.
and earn a little money to survive and pay the tuition. And there are other students who are doing it as well.
So it's possible.
It's possible to
You
do
could
it.
do this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I said, okay. I kept, well, just to be safe, because I was hoping Beirut will open up and I don't have to come that far, to go that far to find a school.
Right.
I did apply
Okay.
to City College. I was accepted in engineering.
Okay.
And
did you tell your Yabapu? Did they even know you were applying to these different things?
Yes, of course. They knew everything. I kept them.
You kept them
informed,
up to date.
Yeah, up to date.
Okay, that's good.
I mean, they didn't really have any choice for me, and they didn't have any. I mean, they didn't know what would be best.
At this point, let's update really fast. What is Theo Theodoros doing? What is Theo Stelio doing? What is Thea Barbara doing? Your older brother, your younger brother, and then younger sister. What are they doing while you're in the military applying to going to New York?
Yeah, Varvara, the youngest one, she's 5 years younger than me. She was in middle school, high school. She was in school.
She was still in school. Okay.
Stelios was in school, but Stelios went through the same depression that I did as well. So he was failing some of his classes in high school. So I sat down with my father one day and I said, and we thought about, but he loved the restaurant. We were at Nice Beach, and after we left Nice Beach, Stelios kept going back to the kitchen. And
that was his
learning.
thing.
He was learning. He was really learning. And the people there were some kind people, and they were helping him to learn.
Okay.
So we saw that he had a great love for
cooking.
Yeah, for
culinary.
cooking.
Yeah.
Culinary,
Yeah.
So as I came back and forth from Lefkosia, I discovered that there was a corollary school for young men like Stelios, called the Xenodοχειακή Σχολή, the hospitality school of Cyprus, which was preparing chefs and other
culinary professions.
For servicing the hotels, because tourism was picking up.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Cyprus is.
So I came back one day and I said to my father, look, that school will give him all the training. It was a 3-year program. We'll give him the high school diploma, and we'll also give him a degree or a certificate for cooking, for being a chef.
Was Bapu okay with that? Like, was he upset about that route, or was he okay? You think he was okay
No,
with that?
he was looking for the best thing for Stelios.
That's good, though. There wasn't a pressure like, you need to go be a doctor. It was like, what can we find that you are good at, that you enjoy to do? Yes, that's it.
He enjoyed doing that. We saw that. We talked to him about it. And
that
he
is
says,
so cool.
Of course. So
okay.
Stelios, before I left, I think it's before I left Cyprus while I was in the military, he went to the school.
Okay.
And that was a boarding school, and it was a government school, so there was no tuition. It was all fully.
That's really nice.
Yeah. And Stelios thrived.
Aww.
He was number one. He was one of the best cooks they graduated.
So he still is.
Yeah. And so that took care of Stelios.
Okay.
Varvara, I was not there for the rest of the time because
we'll get to that point.
But Theodoros, my older brother,
yes,
what he did was he got out of the military a year after the invasion, and he was actually considering staying and becoming a professional, like an officer, because he was already a sub-lieutenant.
Yeah.
But we had some conversations about it, and I said to him, "There's no future in that. I think education is really the best." And he wanted to learn more, so he came out of the military after serving for 3 years, poor guy. Jeez. 36 months. And then he left for Greece. He applied for a university in Greece. He left for Greece, and he was studying in Greece while I was in the military. He was studying in Greece.
Okay.
And we'll connect it later.
Yes, for sure.
But he was getting I think an MBA basically, or an equivalent of that. It was a business degree. Anyway, so here I am. I'm in the summer of 1978. I am like 4 months away from finishing my service in the military.
Yeah.
And I'm still struggling to figure out where I'm going. And then it was like Beirut completely burned up, fell apart, completely fell apart.
That's so sad.
And I had no other choice. The president of the American University of Beirut was abducted, never found. He was killed by the Hezbollah people. Israel had invaded, destroyed the city. to destroy Hezbollah. They fought in the streets and destroyed. I mean, if you see the pictures from that time, it was like total destruction, demolition of the city.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
that was definitely not an option to go there.
it was not an option.
Yeah.
I only had one option, and that was City College in New York.
So you applied?
I already applied. I got accepted.
Yes.
And somewhere in the middle of the summer, I knew by July that New York was the only option I had.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna stop the story there, because the next episode we're gonna dive into how it was, first of all, coming to America, literally, and then like that shock of being here in the States, and how did you deal with understanding the invasion and leaving Yambapu in Cyprus when you were here. And I know eventually we'll tie in Theodoros too.
Yeah.
And Theostelios later. We'll tie in all the siblings later.
Yeah.
So we're definitely going to dive into that and what happened, and how the invasion kind of loops into how you lived here. So we'll talk about that the next episode. But thanks everybody for listening.
Yeah, thank you all for listening.
Yeah, it's a lot of information, and it's about somebody that a lot of you don't know, who is obviously very important to me. So, but if you guys ever have any questions, you can always go to my social media, at Olympia Papageorgiou on Instagram and Twitter. You can find me on Facebook as well. And you can always ask questions. And if we do get questions, we will answer them. So you can always ask anything you want or whatever you're confused about, because this is a lot of information with a lot of names and things that are not familiar to people who don't know the language. So we're open to answering anything. But we will definitely see you next time. So thanks for listening, and thanks, Ba.
Thank you, Olympia, and thank you to our listeners too.
Yes, for sure. Okay, bye, guys.